other wine. It was uneventful.
Welcome to CoffeeIs.me podcast, where me means you, or more precisely, us. This is the show where your host, Valerian, without using any interrogation techniques, convinces coffee professionals to reveal their secrets to teach and inspire you to make better coffee and earn a few bucks on the side, if that's what you fancy. Let the show begin.
Hey, welcome to Coffee Is Me podcast. Well, we didn't talk for a while. Sorry about that, but we're going to make it up to you for sure. And we're trying something different. So if you hear this echo, it's mostly because we are at Boot Lab and I have one mic and few guests here. And I think that, this format can be kind of cool. I have Marcus Young with me and Smayah, and now help me. Smayah? Uwajeneza. Did I say it right? Uwajeneza?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll get myself a medal. All right. So Marcus Young is my buddy and my colleague at Boot Coffee. And, he's much more smarter than me. So I thought that maybe he can hop into this podcast and be our guest.
But somehow Marcus. I still learn things from you almost every time we talk, Valerian. So you're too kind and I think you're wrong. I think you're the smart one.
You can keep talking.
Good.
So also joining us, Deborah here in the background. So if you have anything to say, just tell us. If you want to correct us on something. No?
I'll be listening for typos.
Okay, she was listening for typos. And we also changed the format because now we have a wine with us because we need to relax a little bit. There we go. So this one actually is a pet nat. And now French people will kill me because pet nat is actually a method ancestral of making sparkling wine. So actually it's an old way of making sparkling wine. And, just to brag a little bit, I did it with my other buddy, Kim. But yeah, we did this pet nat. It's very nice. It's Viognier. And it's going to keep us happy through the interview. All right. Such a long intro.
It's good. It's been a long time.
Okay, but somebody is quiet here, Smayah. So tell us about yourself, Smayah, where you're coming from and what are you doing here?
Okay, I am from Rwanda and I live in Kigali. I was born and raised there. Raised in such a great community that taught me the useful and values of lives and the treasure of generosity and giving back to it. I came all the way from there for the scholarship program that I received last year from Specialty Coffee Association to be shaped as a skillful coffee leader. And that is a scholarship program that is about equity and diversity into coffee industry. And so I was honored and excited to be one of the lead scholars, 5 women who were selected in the first cohort. So part of it, we get like professional development that you can choose any education track that you want. And so I decided to choose education regarding roasting because I wanted to be the first female roaster in my country. And also I wanted to be able to embrace the work of the coffee farmers through the art and craft of roasting. And so that's why I decided to join Boot Coffee campus because I know some of the people like Marcus Young and Deborah who actually started the social enterprise that I found myself in that's where I was introduced to coffee as a career, called Question Coffee, that is also under control by an NGO company called Sustainable Growers with partnership with Bloomberg Philanthropy that is helping Rwandans to drink more coffee to enjoy the beauty that they saw, but mainly generating income to the coffee farmers, women coffee farmers in Rwanda. And of course, I worked there as a quality control and a roaster. So I really wanted to expand my skills into coffee and to also network with a lot of people all over, a lot of experts, and to learn from them and to represent my community wherever I will be by hosting events and presenting to them the efforts that the farmers are putting into to deserve their prices and for their lives to be improved as well. So I'm multitasking while I'm here.
Wow. Did you memorize this?
No,
Cool.
yeah, I didn't memorize this.
It was awesome.
That was a long one, I know.
That's cool. It just, you're so organized with your information. I was like, whoa, I wish I was organized like that with my information.
I'm glad.
So, for both of you, usually I start with a question about, your first coffee. And the reason is because I believe, and also the listeners believe, that your first coffee usually determines your relation to the coffee. And I start with you, Smayah, because I read about you and actually on your blog that your first drink was espresso.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Correct.
So tell us, how did you like that espresso? Your first espresso?
So when I finished high school, I was looking for a job that would allow me to save for college. And so I heard about this social enterprise that I worked for, Question Coffee, and that it was actually starting. And so I joined barista training programs. And the first drink that they made me make was espresso. That was my first time to drink coffee, honestly. I grew up in
Was the first espresso you drank an espresso that you actually made as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Whoa.
Oh.
It was the first espresso I made and the first espresso I drank. So it was very great experience, but I thought that it wasn't good taste. It was really bitter and undesired. I feel like I don't really want it, and they didn't allow me to take sugar, to add milk, anything. So I had to drink it as it is. So, but at the end of the day, it turned to be my favorite drink.
Oh, espresso?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. How about you, Marcus? What was your favorite first coffee drink?
Gosh, I'm sure it was just a cup of coffee that came from a can at my grandparents' house or my parents' house, and not memorable at all. But I always had a family that was interested in taste and flavor. Coffee for them came much later, but there was always wine and good food, and we would talk about what we were eating.
I know your family.
You know my family. So, yeah, the first coffee, totally forgettable.
Wow.
But, I do remember a client that I had in coffee long before I personally worked in coffee. I had a tech company. Mm-hmm. And he was a coffee roaster buying coffee from Guatemalan farmers. This was in like the late 90s, mid to late 90s. And I remember going to his home and we would taste coffees that he was roasting from different farms and of different types. And I remember just being impressed by how unique the flavors could be, even from one small area. So that might have been one of the several aha moments for me that coffee could be my future.
Cool. Smayah, you shocked me because I hoped that we will connect on an Aeropress level because you are an East African Aeropress champion, correct?
Correct.
And my Slovak company is actually a 2015 Aeropress world champion. So I was like, we'll talk so much about Aeropress. But then you say that, my favorite drink is espresso. I'm like, oh no. So how is your relation with Aeropress?
Honestly, I was just after I got a job at Question Coffee, I was not really making a lot of AeroPresses for sure, because a lot of clients were looking for espresso, Americanos, latte, and cappuccinos. And the reason why I got to love espresso is that the challenge that I received from my boss, my leaders. So he would come to me, and especially that into specialty coffee world, you always have to dial in espressos before you open up the door for the clients. You really need to know what you're serving. And so I couldn't serve something that I didn't drink. And again, my boss, Adam, who would come all the time, Smayah, I need a very nice espresso. I always had to drink maybe 4 and serve the 5th one. So that challenge...
Drink or taste?
Maybe both.
Okay. Let's start up your day.
I know, maybe
espressos.
both, honestly, because sometimes I could drink, there's a time you make something and it tastes really good. But the time you're testing, you kind of like it, you keep on drinking and you finally realize that it's about to finish. So you can't serve that half. And so I decided to make another and drink that much. And that was in 2016, until last year. That's when I started developing love for AeroPress. I was just making it for clients. And I remember trying to make a signature drink with orange that I was inspired by this woman. I don't remember the name, but I used to watch a lot of her videos on YouTube.
I know who you mean. She was on a host of the podcast, guest on a podcast. It's
I don't remember the name. So I used to watch a lot of videos of her.
Gail.
Maybe.
From Seattle Coffee Gear.
Probably, yeah. I used to watch those videos of her making AeroPress with an orange slice to be like a filter. So I was so inspired and found that AeroPress was just something unique on its own. And the fact that it also makes a kind of a strong, because I finally loved strong coffees, and I thought that AeroPress could help me to bring out the best sweetness and very nice cup of coffee that is super bold and strong. And so last year in June, I heard about AeroPress championship that goes on, and I started making a lot of AeroPresses, trying with all the coffees that we serve at our cafe. And somewhere in September, that's when I heard about the championship in Kenya. And so myself and some of other colleagues of mine back at work, we were like, okay, let's go there. But they thought that I really love latte art, because the competition was about latte art and AeroPress. It was like, okay, so my friend Dan, who is no longer with us at work.
Oh, really? He left?
Yeah, he left. He was like, okay, Smayah, you're going to have to compete at the latte art, and then I'll take AeroPress. And I was like, oh, I don't think so. I'm going to have to do them both or go to AeroPress. A new challenge for me, because I already won the other championship of latte art on a national level. And so I decided to commit myself into AeroPress. And every single time I would try a lot of different recipes to bring out the best out of it. And so the day of competition arrived. We took a long bus, 10 hours or more, to Kenya. Myself, Dan, and another colleague. We went to Kenya, and then we thought that we were going to use our coffee. But when we got there, they're like, no, you will use our coffee, and all competitors are going to use the same coffee. So it's a funny story how I won that competition. We arrived in Nairobi a night before the competition starts, and then this guy Stephanie, who hosted that competition, he brought a grinder and the coffees for us where we were staying, because we got there when the trainings were finished. And so I was like, okay, nobody's trying new coffees. Everybody was hanging out and sleeping. It was like, I gotta do something with this coffee, because I don't really know. And Stephanie was like, okay, you know what, guys, we're gonna be looking at this kind of characters, we're gonna be looking at these flavors. So if you hit these flavors, you're gonna be able to win the competition. Like, okay, fine. So they left around 9 p.m. I was playing around the coffee, the grind sizes. And so I finally found a grind size that was good for me, that I thought it would work for me. And so I boiled water from the kettle, and I made the coffee. The first cup, the second cup couldn't really taste what they said. And I was going to my colleague's bedroom and be like, hey guys, try this coffee. They're like, oh, Smayah, we're done. Don't bring us coffee this night. And so I was like, okay, fine. And the last cup, I failed. Like, I couldn't really replug the kettle to reheat the water. But when I touched the kettle, I found that it was still a little bit hotter. Like, fine, I'm just going to use this water to make my coffee. And I made it, and it was finally like the greatest cup I've ever had in life.
So low temperature.
Low temperature was the key for me to win. And I didn't know that. And the challenging part was that I didn't know how low or how high it was, because I didn't have the thermometer. It was just like the feeling, the sensory kind of thing.
Ooh, that's 100% sensory. Like,
Absolutely. And so I kept on, the day after, I decided to use that recipe with low temperature water, and the competition came, and I was telling every competitor that, hey guys, I'm using this. I didn't really take it as a big thing, but I finally won. But before that, I was going back and forth to latte art competition and to Aeropress, and I go to the second final of the latte art, and I was like, no, I think I have to decide which one I really want to take. And so I dropped latte art and I continued with Aeropress, and I finally won.
cool. So, I have a big respect for everybody who competes, because as a company owner, I was always like, my baristas should compete, everybody should just compete.
Yeah.
But it's hard. So, my baristas told me, you try it for yourselves. And I did. I went to the Aeropress Championship in San Francisco, organized by waiters. And 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago. But I realized I like wine more than Aeropress. And anyhow, so the story was that what I did, the trick was I always extracted and then always cupped as I added water to it.
Me too.
Oh, really?
Me too. Yeah.
Okay. Fist bump. Perfect. Cool. Anyhow, do you have any funny Aeropress stories, Marcus, you want to share?
Ooh.
Or shall we move to 30,000 women farmers?
I mean, it's hard to beat 30,000 women farmers. My AeroPress often involves nightmares for me because it involves like hosting people at my house in Rwanda. And the only brewer I had was an AeroPress.
Oh.
So I remember Devora and I would sometimes make coffee when she came to Rwanda. And it would be 6 or 8 AeroPresses in the morning with a bunch of vultures hungry for coffee.
Ah.
I can't guarantee that the coffee was delicious, but it was probably pretty good. Not as good as yours, Smayah.
Oh.
Thank you.
All right. So other thing which I was shocked is I read your blog, and you mentioned the 30,000 female farmers. And I'm kind of like a guy who, loves wine, and I follow also the wine scene. And similarly, like in a coffee scene, we have also in both scenes, like not enough female farmers. And, for me, it was always like, oh yeah, because it's a tough job. So probably it's chosen by males. But in 2018, I had one favorite wine, which blew me away. And, it's called Quite. It comes from Spain. And I don't know too much about it until I researched that it's a female badass farmer. And her grape vines are like 80 to 100 years old. And her name is Veronica Ortega. And she's just amazing. So, and I see that, for whatever reason, I start to prefer wines made by female producers. And it's not because I'm looking for them. It's like, okay, this wine I like. It's like, oh, it's a female. Cool. And it's France, it's Spain, you name it. So how is it in the coffee world? Are female farmers making different coffee than male farmers? Is there any kind of like thing you can say that, oh yeah, female coffee is like this, male coffee would be like that in Rwanda?
Yeah. From that perspective, I would say that when we look back at how coffee was being produced in a country, if you hear stories from a lot of farmers over there, they will tell you that the women were the ones to do all the activities from the farm level. But when it comes to carrying heavy stuffs, or especially when it comes to selling the cherries, the products out of those trees, the men could take a step. So if the woman was the one to do everything, if she gets to be trained on what can improve the quality of her product, that is first of all, because she was doing everything, right? And we know in life that women tend to pay a lot of attention to things, right?
Are they?
They do.
Okay.
They do. And women do not think about themselves only. They think about the whole family. And the man is part of the family. And everything that they think about is, how can I do this that will benefit the whole family? So investing in a woman, you invest in the whole community.
So you mean the nurture of the farm is much more?
Absolutely. They nurture from seed to the cap. Just because they were under minority back in a lot of years. So they need to be at the level of confidence where the men are.
Do they have that? now?
It's getting there. It's getting there because a lot of women are very like. I would give an example of myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I will give an example of myself because like I'm from a very big family of 15 children, 10 girls. And I would say I'm the only girl who is confident enough to be like, I can do this to myself. I can provide, I can live the life I want so long as I'm committed to something positive. I can work hard and help myself out. I don't have to be dependent just because the community says that I have to, you know? So it's the first thing, however much people do not have resources, but if you can create that spirit of confidence and that internal motivation spirit, that's when a person really stands up and gets to work for themselves. But if they don't have resources and they don't have that confidence, then they can never do anything. Not only looking at the women, but looking in general.
I like what you said about the recognition, right? Like the women are doing the work. They have done the work for generations, probably.
Absolutely.
And you see that anytime I've gone to a coffee farm anywhere in the world, who's mostly in the field, who's mostly around the drying beds. It's usually women doing that work.
Yeah.
And so that, you think just that recognition leads to confidence?
Absolutely. The recognition, the appreciation that you get from people, or the encouragement that you get from people. And I would also give an example of my country where I'm from. Ever since the government started to invest in women and empower them to stand up for themselves, that's when the country changed. It wasn't there before. But if you think that if by the time they think that they can and there is a contribution that they can they can be part of to develop the country and to develop themselves, that's when you see like the very great outcome. So I would definitely give an example of my country, having them into positions where they make decisions, empower them to stand up for themselves, to feel confident, to feel capable enough to do anything that a man can do. That's how you see development.
In a coffee world, when the whole specialty scene started, one of the kind of like a punch for the whole industry move were the first, I would call them, I don't know, superstar farmers, right? And I can think of one female only from El Salvador, Ida Butler. And then we have, all the Graciano Cruzes and all these big names.
From Guatemala.
Right.
And,
So are there any superstars you want to mention? Or upcoming superstars in Rwanda, female farmers, we should pay attention to?
These people are not me. I'm not going to talk about myself a lot. But I just can't forget that, or we cannot forget that these people are so faithless, right? Are so hurtless. To see them or to say that they are superstars in our communities.
Upcoming superstars.
I'm going to name two superstars, and it's Agnes and Asteri. They're both superstars in my world.
There are
of
many.
Coffee farmers.
There's Asteri.
And of course, there's more.
There's more and more. There's more and more. There's a lot of women who are leading their cooperatives. They're worth looking at and be like, oh, these are really, and they're
who are they? Let's mention them on this podcast. Would be great for them, kind of like for the confidence.
And not just farmers, right? There's Ms. Muhira from Boof Coffee, who started Boof Coffee.
Ms. Muhira?
Sam Muhira's mother. Beatrice is her name.
Yes, right.
There's Leticia, who is a copper and a quality control. There is Rashosko.
There is
Angelique.
There is Sandrine. There is Micheline. There is Christine Chondo.
100%. So we had to get these names out here because they inspire me every day to continue doing the work I'm doing.
Great.
Here.
Thanks.
And it doesn't mean that we're not recognizing the others who we didn't name, because we know they're out there.
They're out there.
But these are the people that come first to mind.
Okay, I'll tell you my first. So apart from those, I will list few more. There is Seraphine, there is Vestine, there is my one and only Helen, who is always motivated and singing and smiling all the time. However, life can be hard. There is so I mentioned Seraphine, Helen, Mary, Vestine, Madeleine, all those people. There are so many.
Can we just use this? We should give props where props are due and mention their companies too. So I'll start because I pushed you to say Agnes from Twangere Umusaruro Cooperative.
Yeah, there's
Pasteri from Niaminga.
There's Donata from Gashonga Coffee. There is, but most of the people I mentioned, they're from TUK. So, but there's a lot of women in Gisuma Coffee. They're my favorite people too. There's one called Mary over there who really inspired me. The first time I joined specialty coffee, and the first time I went out there to the forum, Mary, or we call them Maria.
Oh, that's how we...
Maria, that's how we pronounce it. From Gisuma, some amazing superstar from Choco, Teresa. She's doing an amazing job. There is a lot of women out there from Abakangukie Kawa, Abakunda Kawa, Kokaji, all these 100%. People. There are so many. I can't mention. Like, we have...
You said TUK.
TUK, Twongere Umusaruro Kawa.
There you go. She says it better than I do in Kinyarwanda. Even in Kinyarwanda, you don't like to say it, so you just say TUK or Tuk.
We say Tuk.
Tuk, okay.
Because it's a long name, but it means a lot. It means let's yield much in coffee. So.
And one of my favorite things, just talking about these cooperative names, I keep talking about Niaminga and Tuk.
Yeah.
Because I was there kind of when they became strong.
Superstars.
And the spirit of both of these cooperatives is so encapsulated by their names.
Absolutely.
With Tuk, what does that mean?
Twongere Umusaruro means let's yield much into coffee.
It's very pragmatic. It's like we're going to make money. We're going to yield all of the results that come from our hard work.
So it's very different than Dukunde Kawa, which means love for coffee or something like that?
Dukunde Kawa means let's love coffee.
Yeah,
yes. And what does Niaminga mean?
Niaminga means beautiful women.
Ooh.
Like strong and beautiful inside and out.
Confident, strong, beautiful women.
Right? So it's so nice when you get behind these names.
Yeah, it's not just a name. It means a lot. And there's amazing people doing a great job that they even won the Cup of Excellence last year called Mayoji. But Mayoji is the name of the place where they're located. So it's not... It has a story behind it, a very long story behind it.
Okay, so most of the people listening to this podcast are future or existing roasters or people who start businesses and always want some kind of tips, how to master their skills or go ahead of the competition. So tell us, is there anything brewing in Rwanda we should know about? Let's say that in 3-4 years we should really pay attention because it's happening and that will be the best coffee in the world or something like that.
We are doing all we can to make sure the Rwandan coffee stands out there really nicely. And these people that I mentioned, these women coffee farmers or farmers in general, are putting a lot of efforts to eradicate a lot of problems that we have. Like, we have potato defects over there, which is really one of the biggest problems that we have, and that is causing our coffee to lose market on a daily basis. And it's not something that we only share, but it's something that we share with a lot of countries which are around us. So it's something that we should really stand up and make sure that we collaborate with the world and be able to eradicate and eliminate that so that the lives of the people who are growing coffee can improve and can stay well. There's a lot of efforts. There's a lot of, I would love to see a lot of roasteries opening up in my country. So whoever wants to invest in that should come and that is not going to be he's not going to be only benefiting, but he's going to be creating retail market for the producers in Rwanda. He's going to be able to share the local product with the local people and the foreigner people who are coming into the country.
What's going to happen with us? if you drink all our coffee.
But you know, if we drink a lot, we will be able to understand everything behind it. And that's where the love and passion comes from.
I totally agree. I was joking because, for me, if you look at, again, wine, France, right? I mean, everybody drinks wine. Like, I remember I was there in a Carrefour, which is something like, I don't know, Costco here, or, I don't know, Walmart, people shopping. And, in my country, in Slovakia, people buy, let's say, 20 beers for the weekend. And these guys were holding like 20, 30 wines for the weekend. So for me, it was like, and, if they appreciate their own product, also the industry will rise. And for me, it was always strange that, well, it wasn't strange because obviously the whole colonial history and stuff, but, every country, I think, which start to appreciate their own coffee, they change their industry rapidly.
Absolutely.
So that's really important. You guys will love
and
what
also,
you do.
they, farmers don't know everything about coffee, right? They just think that it's all about growing and sending to the country because that's how it was introduced to them. So there's no way they'll be able to eradicate all those defects that they get to have into their coffee if they don't drink, if they don't have facilities to quality control their own product before being sent to you guys, to America, to Europe, to Australia. So they need to have those spaces to quality control their product. They need to understand all the science goes behind their product, how every member of supply chain is embracing their work, And of course, that will also promote or create opportunities to people out there, especially youth who are really jobless, and the high number of them are jobless. So making or introducing or creating, establishing, those are so many verbs that I used there. But establishing a roastery, a cafe, you're going to be able to create opportunities for the youth. You're going to be able to help the farmers grow, improve their lives, and you're going to be able to, at the end of the day, you will sit back and be like, oh, I really made a lot of impact into a lot of lives. Cool. And you'll be happy.
Cool. Marcus, any secret we should expect from Rwanda? Don't tell me geishas. Geishas, I'm sorry, geishas.
I mean, Rwanda is amazing, and I spent time there, of course, and there's a lot of hunger for innovation, but there haven't been a lot of resources. It's interesting, you mentioned coffee varieties right from the get-go. Smayah, what's most of the coffee that's grown there?
Red bourbon.
Yeah, it's all red bourbon.
It's all.
But of course, there's exceptions. There's always exceptions.
Yeah.
So I think just by exploring other varieties, the terroir is there, the elevation. There isn't a lot of coffee grown kind of adjacent to the more natural areas in the country. I think part of the power of Tuk is it's near Akagera National Park. Yeah. Not necessarily high elevation, but adjacent to untouched land.
Yeah.
And I think, with kind of this new generation, with somebody like Smayah who's brewing the coffee every day, talking to customers, tasting other coffees around the world regularly, you're sort of in a position as your career grows to think about what can happen with processing.
Absolutely.
To understand right there, right in the backyard, within a 2-hour drive of these farms, what happens if we change a drying methodology? How does that coffee react differently in the roaster? How does it taste different? How does it hold up 9 months after the harvest different? Mm-hmm. So there's nothing specific, I think, that I can point to in Rwanda, but these coffees are so unique because they have the acidity and the fruit and these kind of big characters that we expect from so many coffees from East Africa. But what's unique is they also have this heavy body, syrup, dried fruits, dark, deep sugars. And that's pretty special.
Yeah, it is.
It's a profile
so unique,
unlike anywhere else.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the biggest opportunity is to really harness those profiles and understand even better how to improve upon them.
And also, like the barista kind of nation is really growing super fast. As we recently got a barista training area back at my at the cafe that I work for, we got a sponsor, Mastercard Foundation. Big thanks to them, and Specialty Coffee Association. But again, that is also a challenge, because if we are training 200 baristas, we don't have anywhere for them to apply what they learn. It's also still a big challenge. So, but it's promising. It's all about how we can all come together to make things happen. I believe in collaboration and support, and that's the reason why I am here, and that's the reason why I like these kind of platforms. Allows me to be voice of my country, of my people. So thank you so much for sharing my opinions.
Oh, thank you for sharing your time with us. I'm not let you go yet.
No. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so if, let's say, some roasters like your story and they go like, oh yeah, I think that, female farmers are very important, or any Rwandan farmer is very important. I want to help. How they can help? Let's say there are roasters in Europe or United States. There's a big smile here to note.
Yes, I love that. I love when I'm being asked what can be done back into my country to make things better. For sure, as I said before, I would first of all tackle down why we actually need to help them. The reason why we need to help these people is because, first of all, for the coffee to have value and for buyers to pay great prices for it, it has to have quality, right? And there's nowhere that quality can be achieved if there exist few washing stations for 400,000 farmers in the whole nation. So they need washing stations to add value on their coffee, to understand the processes, as Marcus was saying. We need to provide them cupping labs where they get to understand actually what is potato dip that is affecting us and that is making our coffee going lower and lower on a daily basis. They need a lot of, and again, looking at how they get to process or how they get their cherries from the farm up to the washing station. I've seen a lot of things that have been really making me stand up and not sleeping a lot every single day, because I want people to collaborate and support them throughout their work. If you see a pregnant woman carrying a lot of kilos and kilos of coffee cherries on her head, works like a couple hours, that is so many kilometers to get down to the washing station. It's hard, isn't it? Can you picture that?
I love that the way that you think about this from the producer's perspective and what they need. And I think part of the power of sustainable growers has been always making sure the producers are the ones that are guiding this conversation and guiding the decisions. From the roaster perspective, because I've been involved kind of on that end much more as a coffee buyer and working with roasters. And some of the best examples that I've seen are, there's a company in a small town in Oregon, Sisters, Oregon, called Sisters Coffee.
Yeah.
And, when I was first in Rwanda and the project was first getting started, Jessie, she's the buyer and the daughter of the founder, she came to Rwanda and we went and visited a number of different producers. And she, in a lot of ways, I think, fell in love with the country.
Yeah.
We'll have to have her on this podcast and ask her to validate that.
Yeah.
But, some years, a few years down the line, we learned that there was a very real need from talking to the farmers that, at one cooperative, every Monday during harvest was water day. That means that they had to walk, and most of these women are 50 years old or older. Every Monday during harvest was spent walking 3/4 of a kilometer, filling up a 20-liter bucket of water, walking it back to a cistern, and filling that cistern, trip after trip after trip. Because there was no water at the washing station to run the pulper. So, maybe bad on me for buying a pulper and bad on the government for suggesting land that didn't have close water. But they were managing. That speaks to the determination of these producers. So Jessie heard about this, knew that there was a need. Here's a roaster. She was buying some of their coffee. Not a lot by the scale of commercial roasters, not 5 containers, but a lot for a company their size. She was making a significant difference. And she heard that there was this need, so she engaged her local community. She said, hey, you know what? I want to collect donations from my customers in my cafes. I want to collect a small premium on the bags of coffee that we're selling. She's an athlete, so she was going to run the Kigali Marathon. So she used that as kind of a fundraising mechanism as well. So it was a combination of, I think, buying coffee, but also engaging her community with something that was very real, which was the need for these women to install a fairly simple system of moving water with a simple pump. Mm. I don't remember what exactly was raised, but it was kind of managed by sustainable growers, by sustainable harvest coffee importers. She was able to collect this money. She went to Kigali and ran the marathon with her buyer, Christian. And ultimately they got like a pump system and a water system installed to move water from the spring to the washing station during the harvest time. It's such like a perfect example of
absolutely
making that happen.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think premium sharing rewards we could talk about. Can I tell the story about
absolutely.
The woman who was so happy with the sex she was having? Is that okay, Valerian?
She has what?
Good sex.
Sex. Okay, I was like sect or sex. So both are great, but go for it.
So so this premium sharing model that Smayah is like blushing here. It's amazing. This was a program where farmers could kind of earn points and credit for delivering ripe cherries, for sending their children to school, for participating in community healthcare, for saving in the community savings bank. As they earned these credits and as roasters purchased their coffee, there was this connection. They had credits to spend. There were proceeds to buy rewards. So we talked to the producers. This was a woman who was working in Rwanda at the time named Ashley, who kind of piloted this, along with Renee, who was there at the time, and Joe, and all of these great Rwandese who are working in the field. And we talked to them, and they said, yeah, things that we need, we want cell phones, we want airtime, we want mattresses, we want goats, we want cows. We also had connections as a company to people making solar lights and clean cook stoves and those kind of traditional, in quotes, NGO products. But we captured this photo after products were delivered of a woman holding a solar light. It's a beautiful light. It looks like a sunshine with this huge smile on her face. This woman who's maybe 50, 55 years old. Smayah is so embarrassed. She can't believe I'm saying this into a microphone.
No, it's fine.
And later on, Christine, who we've mentioned, Christine, who runs this Sustainable Growers NGO out of Rwanda, she finally kind of got to the bottom of this. She was like, you're smiling so big in this photo. Why are you so happy? And, the answer was, it's amazing because, it's dark in Rwanda. It's in the tropics. When the sun goes down, it goes down fast, and it's dark at 6:00. And her grin was because she was so happy because her husband loved the solar light because it meant he could see his wife at night. So suddenly there was a little spice in her life.
Nice.
Which is awesome. Like you never know what the consequences of these things are going to be. And I think it's cool. I mean, of course, like healthcare and all these other things are maybe even more important, but I just think it's such a beautiful, like human story, something that's so essential to humanity.
Yeah, it's so simple too, right?
Yep. Just a light.
It's very nice.
Just a light into people's life.
Yeah. That's nice with the light into people's life. You know, when you mentioned sex, I was afraid that's where it's go. But it's actually, it's you should have maybe next time say making love, so I don't have to do PG-13 on this.
Well, yeah, but Valerian, I like to make you a little nervous. I made Smayah double nervous, so I kind of win in this from a personal standpoint.
Well,
we have fun.
Great. I mean, yeah, there are companies that have been really supportive. Yeah, apart from just buying coffee, and Equator is also one of them.
What is the thing you would not want to take with you to Rwanda? Or what do you think that, Americans don't do that right or that well?
I would say that, first of all, I would say that they don't have, whoever is in charge into letting people in or out should not only consider that they want to stay, because we love our country and we really want to always we really want to always collaborate, as I said, and collaborating is to come here, learn of what you're doing, taking back home, as I also share with you, and you kind of learn from me too, and you implement into your country. So they should just easily facilitate the in and out of people, and they shouldn't think that every African that comes to a country want to stay here. No.
Did you have our time to come in, or why do you say that?
Myself, I didn't. It was so easy. The first time I applied for a visa, I finally got it. It's probably because I carried a lot of documents with a lot of supporting letters from my bosses and from big people into the coffee industry, right? But like my friend, my colleague, applied for a visa, and he was here before, and he wanted to come to a CA coffee event, global event, and they couldn't let him in for no reason, right? He was paying for himself. He was, equipped with everything, and he just wanted to be part of that global coffee event, but they couldn't let him in. So it's not that everybody who comes to a country wants to stay. No.
I found this weird because that was my experience. I remember when I met my lovely wife. We worked as a diplomat in Kosovo and Bosnia and Herzegovina. And at the time we were dating, and she invited me to the United States to visit her family. And I remember how hard time I had. And, I had to prove my financial status. I had to prove, show my bank account. I actually had some real estate. I had to prove that I own that real estate. And then I had to go for an interview where they asked me ridiculous questions. I remember that, I was asked if I sleep with my girlfriend.
What?
Yeah, because I asked them I said to the interviewer that this is my girlfriend. I said, what kind of girlfriend? And he showed this, and I was like, whoa. I was really shocked, and I was very disappointed because, in 1989, when we changed from communistic regime to democracy, I was a big activist. And I was actually trained by a lot of American, politicians, actually Republican Institute. And for me, it was always like a land of liberty. So that experience was really bitter.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to come to the United States after that. I was like, no, I come for a visit with your family, and that's it.
Yeah.
Then I had things, added up, and I know exactly the reaction of many people are like, oh, you don't have to come to the United States. Family things happen. So we actually did in 2009 came. My experience was opposite. In 2009, when I applied again for, at that time, green card, it was stellar. It was amazing. It was very, very sweet. So it really depends what kind of person I guess you meet at the embassy.
Yeah.
But that's, that one bitter taste in 2001 was the thing which kind of determined my thoughts about the United States for a long time. And maybe it was one crazy person. I don't know.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I never experienced such a thing, but I kind of put myself into his shoes and how he feels when he gets denied. That is a big opportunity. Nobody affords to be in that global event. So imagine you have all it takes to be there, but you get denied to enter a country. That is really hard.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking and it's kind of offensive, I would say.
It's so offensive. Yeah. So that wouldn't be there. I would encourage whoever is in that position to do not think. I know you can really suspect people for the sake of protecting your people or your community, but it doesn't have to be he has been here, so that was really surprising part of it. So getting denied.
And he didn't overstay or anything.
Oh no, he went back home. We worked together.
Right.
So it's so
something we share. So if you ever think of foreigners, just think of them. Not everybody wants to stay here. They love to visit, but not everybody wants to stay here.
Absolutely, we do love our country.
Yeah, we do. I still love my country.
Yeah.
If
we just want to share, we just want to exchange knowledge, we just want to create win.
And I hope that my country will never offend Americans that way.
Oh, Rwanda is an amazing country. It welcomes everybody, and you can ask everybody that.
Can I come?
Absolutely. I would love to have you, and I would take you everywhere, give you full coffee experience.
So from these political conversations, I got something extra.
Oh,
a visit
yes.
to Rwanda.
Yes, visit Rwanda. That is actually in a hashtag.
You know what's my favorite thing in Rwanda?
No,
It's not the coffee, actually.
It is what?
Marcus?
What?
Akabanga?
Oh,
Akabanga.
yes, Akabanga.
I told you.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Next time I come, I should bring
Oh, I still have some. And actually, you can buy it now on Amazon. By the way, who doesn't know what Akabanga is? It's a hot sauce. It's a kind of a hot oil. It's stunning. You actually really taste the not only the heat, but also the taste of the pepper, which I always appreciate in hot sauces. So.
Yeah, the local made by one and only Nirangarama, the pioneer.
Oh, I love that stuff. All right, the wine is gone. Again, today we're drinking Viognier Petnet. How did you like it, Marcus?
It's delicious. We were talking about how this wine is changing and evolving. There was this coconut aromatic today that was just new in this wine and a beautiful surprise.
Yeah, it's so this is our new passion, natural wines. So we will always have one natural wine on this podcast, and we can even talk more about it if you guys want it. You just let us know. And when we run out of wine, we're not going to make any more podcasts. So
We better keep making wine, Valerian.
or they should send us wine.
Either
I don't
one.
know. Either one. All right. So that's a wrap. Smayah, thank you so much for spending time with us.
Oh my God, I'm so honored and excited.
And Marcus, well, we're going to have a lot of other episodes about hardcore roasting and all kind of fun stuff people ask questions about. And if you have any other questions about roasting, coffee business, cupping, whatever.
Rwanda, because we have Smayah in
absolutely.
our community now, we can always
Yeah.
funnel questions to her and get
Or
some answers.
Brazil, so I have to, play my field. Just shoot them, and we try to make sure that you will get a cool answer about your question. All right, that's a wrap. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. We love you.
Bye-bye.